So this incident from the book of Judges, it's a parable about power. And it's, I mean, boy, it rings true to this very day, doesn't it? So just to remind you, so Jerubbaal was Gideon. Jerubbaal was Gideon's nickname that he got. And so Gideon has passed from the scene, and because he's had many wives and concubines, he has 70 sons, and so one of the who's basically we don't read this part of the story, but he has basically a child by I think a prostitute, and so he's kind of a rejected son, and so basically so this rejected son then comes to the city of Shechem and their kind of clan chiefs and says, hey, all these sons of Jerubbaal, wouldn't you rather get rid of them and stop having to kind of pay taxes to them and just deal with me? And so if I go and kill them, basically, you won't have anything to say about it, would you? And say, oh no, you go and take charge. And so this son, Abimelech, kills all 70 of his, or 69 of his half brothers, and just one survives. And so Jotham tells the parable of the trees looking for someone to lord it over them. And in a sense, this is a parable both about those who seek power and those who seek to be ruled, both rulers and the ruled. And so the parable says, in a sense, about rulers, basically he goes down, it's like, hey, to the fig tree and the grape tree, and wouldn't you, don't you want to be a ruler over us? And say, why would I stop doing the good thing I'm doing, right? And in a sense that I think part of the spiritual application of this parable is that when that when we abandon, that we're called to have a vocation of fruitfulness, that we are called to kind of give sweetness to life for others, and that when our life becomes about dominating others or controlling others and controlling circumstances, manipulating things to our benefit, we no longer produce the fruit of righteousness, that sweet fruit of righteousness. Instead, we become like a thorny bramble, right? And so, of course, the irony is that when the bramble says, come and sit in my shade, well, brambles don't give much shade, right? They're like kind of like scrub, a kind of scrub brush, thorny scrub brush. And, oh, come and sit in my shade. Well, they don't have much shade to offer, but boy, brambles are really good to start, basically as kindling for fire. And so that's the kind of the joke about all this, is that brambles are really only good for one thing, and that is kind of cutting down and putting into your fireplace to bake bread with and to keep yourself warm with. And so the bramble doesn't offer shade, it offers fire, it offers destruction. And so to the ruled, basically it just verifies a great saying of Mark Twain. Mark Twain says that in a democracy, the people always get the rulers they deserve. So, in a sense, do we look for those who to rule us, who give the fruit of righteousness, who provide something sweet for others to eat, or do we tend to want to put brambles in charge, who basically aren't good for anything else except lording it over other people? And so it's a test of character. So we're called to test one another's character by this, in a sense, by this metric. Do you produce sweetness for the lives of others? Do you produce the fruit of righteousness? Can you provide shade for others to rest? Or do you create conflict? And that's ultimately for all of us in our lives, we need to concentrate on being figs or vines and producing that sweet fruit, and not being the bramble, which offers no shade or anything except heat and conflict in the lives of those around us. A reading from the book of Judges. Abimelech, son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem to his mother's kinfolk, and said to them and to the whole clan of his mother's family, say in the hearing of all the lords of Shechem, which is better for you, that all 70 of the sons of Jerubbaal rule over you, or that one rule over you? Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. So his mother's kinfolk spoke all these words on his behalf in the hearing of all the lords of Shechem. and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, "He is our brother." They gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the temple of Baal Berith, with which Abimelech hired worthless and reckless fellows who followed him. He went to his father's house at Ophrah and killed his brothers, the sons of Jerubbaal, 70 men on one stone. But Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, survived, for he hid himself. Then all the lords of Shechem and all Beth Millo came together, and they went and made Abimelech king by the oak of the pillar at Shechem. When it was told to Jotham, he went and stood on the top of Mount Gerizim and cried aloud and said to them, "Listen to me, you lords of Shechem, so that God may listen to you. The trees once went out to anoint a king over themselves. So they said to the olive tree, 'Reign over us.' The olive tree answered them, 'Shall I stop producing my rich oil by which gods and mortals are honored, and go to sway over the trees?' Then the trees said to the fig tree, 'You come and reign over us.' But the fig tree answered them, 'Shall I stop producing my sweetness and my delicious fruit, and go to sway over the trees?' Then the trees said to the vine, 'You come and reign over us.' But the vine said to them, 'Shall I stop producing my wine that cheers gods and mortals, and go to sway over the trees?' So all the trees said to the bramble, 'You come and reign over us.' And the bramble said to the trees, 'If in good faith you are anointing me king over you, then come and take refuge in my shade. But if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon.' Now therefore, if you acted in good faith and honor when you made Abimelech king, and if you have dealt well with Jerubbaal and his house, and have done to him as his actions deserved, if, I say, you have acted in good faith and honor with Jerubbaal and with his house this day, then rejoice in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech, and devour the lords of Shechem and Beth Millo, and let fire come out from the lords of Shechem and from Beth Millo, and devour Abimelech." Then Jotham ran away and fled, going to Beer, where he remained for fear of his brother Abimelech. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.